The darkness between stars held no comfort for War Master Thexnor as he stood on the bridge of his flagship. His massive form cast shadows across the command center while 50,000 ships moved like a deadly swarm through space. The Valonian Empire had conquered 400 star systems over thousands of years. Today they would add one more. "Report on the target system," Thexnor commanded. His voice echoed through the bridge as his officers rushed to obey. "The third planet shows primitive energy signatures, War Master," replied his chief scout. "Basic electrical power, simple communication networks. Their fastest ships barely reach their own moon. We estimate their technology level at primitive +2. Thexnor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Primitive +2 meant these creatures had discovered electricity and simple chemistry. They would fall within hours of the first attack. The Empire had faced thousands of such worlds. This would be no different. Far below on Earth, Admiral Kyoto Deho sat in a room that did not exist on any map. The chamber lay 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, carved from solid rock and protected by technology the surface world had never seen. Dozens of screens surrounded him, showing the approaching alien fleet in perfect detail. "Sir, the Valonian formation has entered the outer detection grid," reported Captain Kim Bora from her station. Her fingers moved across controls that seemed to be made of pure light. 50,000 ships confirmed. War-class battleships, support vessels, and troop carriers. Deho nodded slowly. His gray hair had turned white during the years of preparation for this moment. Humanity had known this day would come. They had been ready for over 3 centuries. "Contact Dr. Park Soo-jin," he ordered. "Tell her it is time." On the surface, the world continued as normal. People went to work, children played in parks, and news broadcasts discussed weather and politics. None of them knew that humanity's greatest test was beginning. None of them knew that everything they believed about their own technology was a lie, Dr. Park. Soo-jin received the message while standing in what appeared to be an ordinary research lab in Seoul. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but her mind held secrets that could reshape the galaxy. Around her, equipment hummed quietly, looking like simple computers and basic scientific tools. The Valonian scouts would have laughed at such primitive devices. They would have been wrong. "Begin Phase 1 activation," Soo-jin said to her team. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly. They had practiced this moment thousands of times, but practice and reality were different things. Her assistant, Dr. Yang Kyung-suk, pressed a series of hidden panels on what looked like an ordinary desk. The room changed. Walls slid away to reveal chambers filled with technology that belonged in dreams. Quantum computers the size of buildings powered up. Energy conduits that had been disguised as simple pipes began to glow with inner fire. "Project Starshield is active," Yang reported. "All defensive networks coming online. Above them, satellites that had orbited Earth for decades began to change. Objects that looked like space junk revealed their true nature. Communication arrays that seemed basic and primitive unfolded like deadly flowers. Weather satellites shed their outer shells to show weapons that could crack moons. The deception had been perfect. For 500 years, humanity had hidden their true capabilities from any who might be watching. They had learned about other races, studied their technology, and prepared for the day when someone would come to take their world. In the deep trenches of Earth's oceans, Commander Yoon Hee-jin felt her ship respond to ancient signals. The vessel had rested on the ocean floor for 200 years, waiting. Now it rose through miles of water, its hull shimmering as stealth fields activated. Around the globe, hundreds of similar ships left their hiding places. "All stealth units report ready," Yoon said into her communication device. Her crew moved with practiced precision, bringing weapons online that the surface world had never imagined. Each ship carried the power to destroy fleets, hidden beneath the waves while the world above believed their navies were the height of military power. General Lim, Tae-sik, stood in a command center beneath the mountains of Korea. His facility looked like something from a science fiction movie, but it was older than most countries. Holographic displays showed the positions of every Valonian ship. Weapons that existed in dimensions beyond normal space began charging their systems. "Phase 2 authorization received," one of his officers reported. "Reality anchors are stable. Quantum displacement grid shows green across all sectors." Tae-sik had devoted his life to this moment. His grandfather had worked on the early preparations, and his father had expanded the hidden networks. Now it was his turn to protect humanity with weapons the enemy could not even understand. The Valonian fleet moved closer to Earth, confident in their strength. Their ships were large and powerful, carrying weapons that had destroyed countless worlds. They had no idea that they were flying into the most sophisticated trap ever created. War Master Thexnor studied the reports from his scouts. The third planet showed no military preparations, no defensive fleets moving to intercept them. The primitive beings seemed unaware of their approaching doom. "Excellent," he said to his officers. "We shall have this world before the next cycle. Prepare the invasion forces." On Earth, engineer Choi Minho made final adjustments to systems that spanned the entire solar system. Every asteroid, every piece of debris, every seemingly natural object had been modified over the centuries. The solar system itself had become a weapon, and Earth was its trigger. "Grid synchronization complete," he reported to Admiral Dae-ho. "All elements ready for activation on your command." The Admiral looked at the screens showing the approaching fleet. Each ship carried thousands of alien warriors ready to enslave or destroy humanity. They came with confidence born from 1,000 victories against helpless worlds. They would learn that Earth was not helpless. They would learn that humanity had been preparing for this moment since they first looked at the stars and wondered who else might be out there. They would learn that the greatest deception in galactic history was about to end. But first, they had to arrive. The trap was set, the weapons were ready, and humanity waited with the patience of predators for their prey to come within range. The war for Earth was about to begin, but it would not be the war the Valonians expected. The Valonian fleet spread across the solar system like a deadly infection. War Master Thexnor watched with satisfaction as his ships took their positions around the primitive world. Jupiter's moons would serve as staging areas, while the asteroid belt would provide cover for his support vessels. The third planet hung before them, blue and defenseless. "No response to our arrival, War Master," reported his communication officer. "The primitives appear unaware of our presence." Thexnor nodded. It was always the same. Lesser species lived their small lives without understanding the greater galaxy around them. Soon they would learn their place in the Empire, or they would die. 3 miles beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, Admiral Dae-ho stood before a gathering that officially did not exist. The Earth Defense Council had met in secret for 300 years, preparing for this exact moment. Representatives from every major nation sat around a table made from materials that would not be invented for another century, at least according to public science. "Gentlemen and ladies," Dae-ho began, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of preparation, "Operation Starfall begins now." The room erupted into controlled activity. Each representative activated hidden communication networks that connected to facilities their own governments did not know existed. In underground cities beneath major capitals, millions of people who lived secret lives began their final preparations. Dr. Park Soo-jin felt the quantum networks come alive around her. The Starshield system had been her life's work, built on research that began when humanity first detected alien signals in the 22nd century. While the world above celebrated their first trips to Mars, teams of scientists had been preparing for war among the stars. "Network synchronization at 97%, reported Dr. Yang Kyung-suk. Around them, displays showed the true scope of humanity's preparations. Satellites that had been mistaken for space junk for decades revealed their purposes. Communication arrays that seemed simple expanded into weapons platforms that could bend space itself. "The Valonians are scanning our defensive systems," Yang continued. "Their equipment reads our installations as primitive radar and basic missile sites." Soo-jin smiled. The deception field generators were working perfectly. Any alien scanning Earth would see exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Primitive nuclear weapons, basic orbital platforms, and simple communication networks. They would never detect the quantum manipulation devices, the reality anchor stations, or the dimensional weapons hidden in plain sight. Captain Kim Bora felt her ship respond as systems that had slept for centuries awakened around her. The Prometheus had been built in secret shipyards beneath the Antarctic ice, using technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien vessels that the public had never heard about. Her crew of 200 had trained their entire lives for this mission. "Dimensional cloak is stable," her tactical officer reported. "We remain invisible to their sensors." Bora nodded. The Prometheus existed in a pocket of folded space-time, technically present but invisible to normal detection methods. Around the solar system, 50 similar vessels waited in their own dimensional hiding spots. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy fleets, powered by technologies that the Valonians would not develop for another 1,000 years. Commander Yoon Hye-jin felt the ocean water part around her rising ship. The stealth vessel had been disguised as a deep-sea research station for 200 years. Marine biologists had unknowingly worked above a warship that could travel between stars, never suspecting that their simple research platform housed weapons designed to fight galactic empires. All ocean-based units report ready for deployment, she said into her communicator. Around the globe, similar vessels rose from trenches that had hidden them since before any living human was born. The ocean floor cities that supported them had been humanity's greatest secret, populated by families who had lived their entire lives preparing for this war. On the surface, engineer Choi Min-ho made his final preparations at what appeared to be an ordinary telecommunications facility in Tokyo. Tourists often photographed the array of simple satellite dishes, unaware that they were looking at one terminal of the most sophisticated weapons network ever created. Quantum displacement grid shows full connectivity, he reported to the hidden command center. All grid points from Mercury to Pluto are synchronized and ready. The grid had taken 2 centuries to build. Every asteroid larger than a house in the solar system had been secretly modified. Mining operations that seemed to extract simple metals had actually installed quantum manipulation devices. Space missions that appeared to study planetary geology had placed reality anchor points on every major celestial body. The entire solar system had become a trap, and the Valonians were swimming right into it. Physicist Lee Dong-woo monitored the enemy fleet from a facility that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. His temporal disruption protocol represented humanity's most dangerous weapon, one that could erase objects from the timeline itself. The mathematics alone had required the development of new forms of computation that existed outside normal space. Enemy fleet is maintaining standard approach vectors, he reported. No indication they detect our temporal manipulations. The Valonians moved through space that humanity had been modifying for centuries. Every cubic meter between Earth and Mars had been seeded with quantum field generators so small, they appeared as cosmic dust. The enemy ships were already flying through a weapon they could not detect, understand, or escape. War Master Thexnor felt a moment of unease as his sensors detected strange readings from the inner solar system. Energy signatures that made no sense appeared and disappeared too quickly to analyze. His science officers assured him it was simply cosmic background radiation, normal for a system with an active star. They were wrong, but they would not live long enough to realize their mistake. General Lim Tae-sik watched the enemy fleet from his command center beneath the Korean mountains. His facility had been carved from solid rock and reinforced with materials that existed in quantum superposition, making it effectively indestructible by any known weapon. Around him, officers who had trained their entire lives for this moment prepared humanity's response. All defensive systems show green status, reported his aide, Captain Seo Min-kyung. Reality anchor stations on Luna are fully operational. The moon itself has been converted into a stabilization platform for our dimensional weapons. Tae-sik nodded. The moon had been humanity's first major engineering project, secretly hollowed out and converted into a massive weapons platform over the course of 3 centuries. To casual observation, it remained the same dead rock that humans had always known. In reality, it had become the most powerful fortress in the galaxy. Tactical Officer Nam Ji-woo coordinated the final preparations from her station aboard a ship that did not officially exist. Her vessel orbited Earth in folded space, technically present but occupying no physical location that normal sensors could detect. Her job was to synchronize the simultaneous activation of every human weapon system in the solar system. Grid coordination locked, she reported. All weapons platforms report ready status. Temporal displacement charges are armed and targeted. The moment was approaching. 50,000 alien ships moved through space that humanity had spent centuries preparing as a killing ground. Every piece of cosmic debris, every asteroid, every seemingly empty patch of vacuum had been weaponized. The Valonians flew confidently toward what they believed was a helpless world. They were about to discover that Earth was the most dangerous place in the galaxy, protected by weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics themselves. The deception that had hidden humanity's true capabilities for 5 centuries was about to end in the most spectacular fashion possible. War Master Thexnor gave the order to begin planetary bombardment. His fleet moved into final attack positions, weapons charging, invasion forces ready to deploy. In a few hours, another world would fall to the Valonian Empire. Admiral Deho watched the enemy ships align themselves perfectly within humanity's trap. Every vessel was exactly where the simulations had predicted they would be. The moment of truth was arriving. "All stations report ready," he said into his communicator. "Prepare to show them who we really are." War Master Thexnor stood proud on his command bridge as the final attack formations took shape. 50,000 ships of the Valonian Empire spread across the solar system, in a pattern perfected by 1,000 victories. The primitive world below would see their weapons approach like falling stars, and they would know their doom had come. "Open communication channels to the planet," Thexnor ordered. His voice carried the authority of an empire that had never known defeat. "It is time for these creatures to understand their fate." The quantum broadcast reached Earth within seconds. Every radio, television, and communication device on the planet received the same message simultaneously. The War Master's image appeared on screens around the world, his alien features twisted with cruel satisfaction. "Primitive beings of the Third World." His words boomed across continents. "I am War Master Thexnor of the Valonian Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately and some of you may live as slaves. Resist and your species will join the countless others we have erased from existence." The broadcast ended. Across Earth, people stared at their screens in shock and terror. Children cried, adults panicked, and world leaders frantically tried to coordinate responses with military forces they believed were hopelessly outmatched. None of them knew that their terror was unnecessary. None of them knew that this moment had been planned for over 3 centuries. Admiral Deho sat in his hidden command center, watching the alien broadcast with calm eyes. Around him, officers who had devoted their lives to this moment waited for his response. The time for hiding was over. The time for humanity to reveal its true nature had arrived. "Open our own broadcast channel," Deho ordered. "Full spectrum, all frequencies. I want every ship in their fleet to receive this message clearly." The communication systems activated, using technology that bent space itself to carry the signal. War Master Thexnor received the transmission on his flagship within moments. The image of a gray-haired human appeared on his screen, wearing a simple uniform and sitting in what looked like a primitive command center. "I am Admiral Kyoto Deho of the Earth Defense Network," the human said. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the void with perfect clarity. "You have made a mistake, War Master. You should have stayed home." Thexnor laughed, the sound echoing across his bridge. His officers joined in the amusement. A primitive being speaking from what looked like a stone cave, daring to threaten the might of the Valonian Empire. "Your courage amuses me, Primitive," Thexnor replied. "But courage cannot stop plasma bombardment. Your world will burn within the hour." "No," Deho said simply. "It will not." The transmission ended. Thexnor shook his massive head at the foolishness of lesser species. They always believed they could resist until the moment their cities began to burn. This would be no different. He was wrong about that too. Dr. Park Soo-jin felt the quantum networks pulse around her as final preparations began. The Starshield system had been her life's work, designed to protect Earth from exactly this kind of threat. Her fingers moved across controls that existed in 11 dimensions, making adjustments that would have been impossible using normal physics. "All satellite platforms report ready," Dr. Yang Kyung-suk announced. "Quantum field generators are synchronized across the entire detection grid. The enemy fleet is completely surrounded by our defensive matrix." Soo-jin nodded. Every seemingly innocent satellite orbiting Earth was actually a node in a weapons network that spanned the solar system. Objects that appeared to be space junk, weather monitoring stations, and communication relays were all components of humanity's greatest defensive system. "Begin final countdown sequence," she ordered. "Authorization, Starfall Omega." Captain Kimbora felt the Prometheus respond as its dimensional engines came fully online. Her ship existed in folded spacetime, invisible to normal detection but capable of striking from any angle simultaneously. Around the solar system, her sister ships prepared for coordinated assault. All stealth units confirm ready status, her tactical officer reported. Dimensional weapons are charged and targeted. We can engage on your command. Bora looked at the display showing the enemy fleet, 50,000 ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds, now flying unknowingly through the most sophisticated trap ever created. She almost felt sorry for them. Almost, Commander Yoon Hye-jin brought her vessel to full combat readiness as it rose from the ocean depths. The stealth ship had been disguised as a research platform for 2 centuries, but now its true nature was revealed. Weapons that could crack planets extended from hidden bays. Engines that could bend space-time itself powered up for instantaneous movement. All ocean-based units are in position, she reported. We can deploy anywhere in the solar system within nanoseconds. Her crew worked with the precision of people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Around the globe, similar vessels emerged from hiding places that had concealed them since before their grandparents were born. Engineer Choi Min-ho made the final connections in the quantum displacement grid. Every asteroid, every piece of cosmic debris, every seemingly empty patch of space between the planets had been modified over centuries of secret work. The entire solar system had become a weapon, and he held the trigger. Grid synchronization complete, he announced. All quantum field generators show green status. Reality displacement charges are armed and ready. The grid was humanity's masterpiece, a weapon system that used the fundamental forces of the universe itself as ammunition. Matter and energy could be moved, transformed, or simply removed from existence by manipulating the quantum fields that held reality together. General Lim Tai-sik watched from his mountain fortress as the final preparations were completed. His facility had been built to withstand the destruction of planets, carved from solid rock and protected by defensive fields that existed outside normal spacetime. Reality anchor stations report full operational status, Captain Seo Min-kyung announced. The moon-based platforms are synchronized and ready to maintain dimensional stability during the engagement. Tai-sik nodded grimly. The moon itself had been secretly converted into humanity's greatest fortress, its interior replaced with weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. To the casual observer, it remained the same dead rock that had orbited Earth for billions of years. In reality, it had become the most powerful weapons platform in the galaxy. Physicist Lee Dongwoo monitored the temporal disruption protocol from his laboratory that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. His weapon was the most dangerous humanity had created, capable of erasing objects from the timeline itself. Using it required mathematics that normal spacetime could not contain. Temporal manipulation systems are stable, he reported. We can target any or all enemy vessels for chronological displacement on your command. The weapon could simply remove the Valonian fleet from history, making it so they had never existed at all. It was the ultimate expression of humanity's technological superiority, and the aliens flying toward Earth had no idea such power was even possible. Tactical Officer Nam Ji-woo coordinated the final synchronization from her ship that existed in folded space. Her vessel occupied no physical location that normal sensors could detect, but it could strike at any point in the solar system simultaneously. All weapons platforms are synchronized, she announced. Temporal displacement systems are locked onto enemy targets. Grid activation charges are armed and ready. The moment was here. 50,000 alien ships moved confidently through space that humanity had spent centuries converting into a killing ground. Every meter of vacuum between the planets contained hidden weapons. Every asteroid was a bomb. Every piece of space debris was a gun aimed at the invading fleet. War Master Thexnor gave the order to begin bombardment. His weapons charged, his invasion forces prepared, and his fleet moved into final attack positions. In minutes, another world would fall to the Valonian Empire. Admiral Dae-ho watched the enemy ships align themselves perfectly within humanity's trap. Every vessel was exactly where the tactical computers had predicted they would be. The alien fleet had positioned itself for maximum bombardment efficiency, which also meant they were perfectly arranged for their own destruction. All stations confirm ready status, he said into his communicator. His voice was calm, but his words would trigger the most devastating military action in galactic history. Initiate Starfall Protocol on my mark. The Valonian weapons fired. Millions of plasma bolts and fusion warheads streaked toward Earth like falling stars. The bombardment that had destroyed countless worlds began its deadly approach to humanity's home. It would never arrive. Execute Starfall Protocol, Admiral Deho commanded. Show them who we really are. The Valonian weapons streaked through space toward Earth like a storm of death. Millions of plasma bolts and fusion warheads that had destroyed hundreds of worlds approached the blue planet that hung defenseless in the void. War Master Thexnor watched with satisfaction as his bombardment raced toward its target. The weapons simply stopped existing. Not stopped, not intercepted, not destroyed. They ceased to be, as if they had never been fired at all. One moment, millions of deadly projectiles filled the space between the Valonian fleet and Earth. The next moment, empty vacuum remained. Thexnor stared at his displays in confusion. His weapon officers frantically checked their systems, finding no errors, no malfunctions, no explanation for what they had witnessed. Fire again, the War Master commanded. His voice carried a note of uncertainty for the first time in centuries. The second bombardment vanished the same way as the first. Plasma bolts that could melt continents simply stopped existing the moment. They came within 1,000,000 kilometers of Earth. Fusion, warheads that could crack moons disappeared, as if they were nothing more than bad dreams. War Master, his science officer called out, his voice filled with fear. I am detecting impossible energy readings throughout the system. Space itself appears to be modified. Admiral Deho watched from his command center as the enemy weapons were casually erased by the outer defensive grid. The Starshield system was working exactly as designed, using quantum field manipulation to remove incoming threats from the timeline before they could reach Earth. Phase 1 complete, Dr. Park Soo-jin reported. All enemy bombardment neutralized. Defensive grid is operating at optimal efficiency. Deho nodded. The aliens were learning that their weapons were useless. But they still did not understand what they faced. It was time to show them. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Let them see our true capabilities. Around the solar system, objects that had masqueraded as space junk for centuries began to reveal their true nature. A communications satellite near Mars unfolded like a mechanical flower, revealing weapons that could pierce the hulls of battleships. An asteroid in the belt shed its rocky disguise to show a weapons platform capable of destroying fleets. Captain Kim, Bora felt the Prometheus emerge from its dimensional hiding place as the stealth fields deactivated. Her ship appeared from folded space-time directly above the Valonian flagship, its hull gleaming with energy fields that bent light around them. All stealth units are decloaking, her tactical officer reported. 50 vessels now visible to enemy sensors. The Valonian fleet suddenly found themselves surrounded by ships that had appeared from nowhere. Human vessels that looked like nothing they had ever seen before, sleek and deadly and crackling with energies that their sensors could not identify. War Master Thexnor felt fear for the first time in his long life, as ships materialized around his fleet from empty space. His tactical displays went insane, showing energy readings that exceeded anything in the Empire's databases. How many ships? He demanded. Unknown, War Master. They appear to be generating sensor shadows that prevent accurate counting. Our estimates range from 50 to 50,000. Commander Yoon Hye-jin brought her vessel up from Earth's ocean depths, its hull shimmering as dimensional distortion fields activated. Around the globe, similar ships rose from hiding places that had concealed them for centuries. All ocean units have achieved orbital insertion, she reported. We are in position for coordinated strike. Her ship had been disguised as a research platform, but now its true form was revealed. Weapons that existed in 11 dimensions extended from hidden bays. Engines that could fold space-time powered systems that the Valonians could not even imagine. Engineer Choi Min-ho activated the quantum displacement grid across the entire solar system. Every asteroid, every piece of debris, every seemingly empty patch of vacuum revealed hidden weapons that had been placed there over centuries of secret preparation. Grid activation complete, he announced. All quantum field generators are online. Reality displacement systems are fully operational. The space around the Valonian fleet began to change. What had appeared to be empty vacuum now crawled with energy fields that twisted the laws of physics. Every cubic meter of space between the planets had become a weapon aimed at the invading armada. General Lim Tai-sik watched from his mountain fortress as the moon itself revealed its true nature. The satellite that humans had known for millennia shed its disguise to show the most powerful weapons platform ever constructed. Lunar defense systems are fully active, Captain So Min-kyung reported. Reality anchor stations are maintaining dimensional stability. We are ready to proceed to final phase. The moon's surface opened like a mechanical eye, revealing weapons that could rewrite the fundamental forces of the universe. Devices that existed in folded space-time, prepared to demonstrate why humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. Physicist Li Dongwu felt the temporal disruption protocol come fully online. His weapon existed outside normal space-time, capable of erasing objects from history itself. The mathematics required to operate it had taken humanity 200 years to develop. Temporal manipulation systems are locked onto all enemy targets, he reported. We can remove the entire fleet from the timeline on your command. Tactical Officer Nam Ji-woo coordinated the final preparations from her ship that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. Her vessel could strike at every point in the solar system at the same moment, using weapons that manipulated reality itself. All weapons platforms report ready, she announced. Synchronized targeting is complete. We can engage the entire enemy fleet simultaneously. War Master Thexnor tried to understand what he was seeing. His fleet was surrounded by impossible ships using technologies that should not exist. Space itself had become hostile, filled with energy fields that made his sensors scream warnings. Retreat, he ordered. His pride fought against the command, but survival was more important than conquest. Full retreat. We withdraw from the system immediately. His fleet began to turn, massive ships rotating to flee from whatever these creatures had become. But as they moved, they found that space would not let them go. The quantum fields that filled the void held them in place like insects in amber. War Master, his navigation officer called out in panic. We cannot achieve hyperspace transition. Something is preventing our engines from engaging. The trap was complete. 50,000 Valonian ships found themselves held motionless in space, that had been converted into humanity's greatest weapon. They could not flee, could not fight, could only wait for whatever came next. Admiral Daeho looked at the displays showing the trapped alien fleet. Every ship was exactly where the tactical computers had predicted they would be. The moment that humanity had prepared for across 3 centuries had finally arrived. All stations confirmed target lock, he said into his communicator. His voice was calm, but his words would trigger the most complete military victory in galactic history. Initiate final phase. Complete erasure of all enemy targets. Admiral, Dr. Yang Kyung-suk called out from her station. Temporal displacement charges are armed. Reality manipulation systems are ready. We can remove the entire fleet from existence in 4.7 seconds. Daeho nodded. The time for mercy had passed the moment the aliens decided to attack Earth. They had come seeking conquest and would find only oblivion. Execute erasure protocol, he commanded. Remove them from the timeline completely. Make it as if they never came here at all. War Master Thexnor felt his ship begin to fade around him as quantum fields that he could not understand began their work. His last transmission was cut short as reality itself rejected his existence. The erasure began. 50,000 ships that had conquered 400 worlds simply ceased to be, removed from history by weapons that existed outside normal space-time. The process took exactly 4.7 seconds, and when it was complete, no trace remained of the Valonian invasion fleet. They had never come to Earth at all. In the revised timeline, they had simply vanished while patrolling their outer territories, lost to some unknown cosmic phenomenon that left no wreckage and no answers. Dr. Yang Kyung-suk monitored the quantum cascade as it spread outward from the erasure point. Complete success, she reported. No wreckage, no energy signatures, no quantum echoes. Total temporal displacement achieved. The most powerful invasion fleet in galactic history had been erased from existence in less than 5 seconds, removed so completely that the universe itself had forgotten they ever existed. Humanity had revealed its true nature at last. The silence that followed was absolute. Where 50,000 Valonian ships had existed moments before, only empty space remained. The quantum cascade had erased them so completely that even their passage through space had been removed from history. As far as the universe was concerned, the invasion fleet had never reached Earth at all. Admiral Daeho sat in his command center, watching displays that showed a solar system return to apparent normalcy. The defensive platforms had retreated to their hiding places. The stealth ships had vanished back into folded space, and the weapons grid had powered down to standby mode. To any outside observer, Earth looked like the same primitive world it had always appeared to be, but everything had changed. "Sir?" Captain Kim Bora reported from the Prometheus, her ship now floating openly in Earth's orbit. "We are receiving communication requests from across the galaxy. Word is spreading about the disappearance of the Valonian fleet." Deho nodded. "The galactic community would have detected the gravitational anomalies created by the erasure process. Ships throughout the Empire would be searching for their missing armada, finding no trace of where it had gone or what had happened to it." "It is time," he said quietly. "Begin Phase 3. Open communication with the galactic community." Dr. Park Soo-jin deactivated the final deception fields that had hidden Earth's true technology from alien observers. Satellites that had masqueraded as primitive communication arrays revealed their actual capabilities. Space stations that had looked like simple research platforms showed their true nature as weapons that could reshape reality itself. "All concealment systems are offline," she reported. "Anyone scanning our system will now see our actual technological level." The revelation would shock the galaxy. Earth, which had appeared to be a primitive world barely capable of reaching its own moon, was suddenly revealed as the most technologically advanced civilization in known space. Ambassador Han So-young prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in human history. She had spent her entire life training for this moment, learning the languages and customs of dozens of alien species, while the world above believed she was simply a university professor. "Opening channels to the Galactic Council," she announced. Her transmission would reach the council chambers on the neutral world of Nexus Prime, where representatives of 100 species gathered to discuss matters of galactic importance. The council chamber fell silent as her message arrived. Species that had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years found themselves staring at a human woman who spoke their languages flawlessly and demonstrated knowledge of their cultures that should have been impossible for a primitive world to possess. "Honored representatives," So-young began, her voice carrying across the chamber with perfect clarity. "I am Ambassador Han So-young of the Earth Defense Network. We come before you today to establish formal diplomatic relations with the galactic community." The council erupted into chaos. A primitive species establishing diplomatic contact was unprecedented enough, but the technology they were displaying made it clear that Earth was anything but primitive. "Impossible," declared the representative from the Centauri Federation. "We have monitored that system for centuries. They are barely capable of interplanetary travel." So-young smiled politely. "That was the impression we wished to give. We have been observing galactic civilization for over 500 years. Learning your languages, studying your technologies, and preparing for the day when we would reveal ourselves." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled representatives. A species that had hidden its true capabilities for centuries, watching and learning while appearing helpless and primitive. Captain Kim Bora led the first official human diplomatic mission to the former Valonian territories. Her ship, the Prometheus, had shed all pretense of concealment and now displayed technology that left alien observers speechless. Engines that folded space-time, weapons that could manipulate fundamental forces, and defensive systems that existed in dimensions beyond normal physics. "We are approaching the Vega system," her navigation officer reported. "Former Valonian colony worlds are requesting our assistance in establishing new governments." The collapse of the Valonian Empire had left dozens of worlds in chaos. Species that had been enslaved for centuries suddenly found themselves free, but without the infrastructure to govern themselves. Earth's intervention was becoming necessary across multiple systems. General Lim Tae-sik coordinated humanity's response to requests for help from across the galaxy. His mountain fortress had become the central command for operations spanning hundreds of light years, managing situations that the surface world was only beginning to understand. Liberation fleets have reached 17 former Valonian territories, Captain Seo Min-kyung reported. Local populations are cooperating fully. They seem to welcome our intervention. The oppressed species of the former empire had quickly learned that humans were not conquerors like the Valonians. Earth's forces came bearing gifts of technology, medicine, and knowledge rather than chains and weapons. Dr. Yang Kyung-suk analyzed the data flowing in from across the galaxy as alien civilizations attempted to understand what had happened to the Valonian fleet. Their conclusions were both correct and terrifying from their perspective. Intelligence, Reports confirm that most species now suspect our involvement in the fleet's disappearance, she told Admiral Deho. They cannot explain how we did it, but the timing makes our responsibility obvious. The fear was spreading. If a species could make 50,000 ships vanish without a trace, what else were they capable of? The galactic balance of power had shifted overnight, and everyone was scrambling to understand the new reality. Commander Yoon Hae-jin established Earth's first official embassy on Nexus Prime, the neutral world where galactic diplomacy was conducted. Her facility looked modest from the outside, but contained technology that could defend itself against any known weapon. The embassy is fully operational, she reported. We are receiving formal diplomatic contact requests from over 200 species. Most are expressing interest in trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. The galaxy was adapting quickly to the new reality. If Earth possessed weapons that could erase fleets from existence, then alliance with humanity was far preferable to opposition. Engineer Choi Min-ho began the careful process of sharing human technology with selected species. The gifts were chosen carefully, advanced enough to improve their lives but not so advanced as to create new threats to galactic stability. Medical nanobots have been provided to the Andromedan colonies, he reported. Agricultural enhancement systems have been delivered to the farming worlds of the Outer Rim. All recipients are expressing gratitude for our assistance. Humanity's philosophy was becoming clear to the galactic community. They possessed overwhelming military superiority, but chose to use their power to help rather than to conquer. Physicist Lee Dong-woo worked with alien scientists to establish new research partnerships. Species that had spent centuries trying to understand the fundamental forces of the universe found themselves learning from humans who had mastered technologies they had never imagined possible. The Centauri Academy has accepted our offer to establish a joint research program, he announced. They are particularly interested in our dimensional manipulation techniques. The exchange of knowledge was carefully controlled. Humanity shared discoveries that would advance galactic civilization while keeping their most dangerous technologies secret. Tactical Officer Nam Jiwoo coordinated Earth's new role as protector of the galaxy's weaker species. Her ship, existing in 11 dimensions simultaneously, could respond to threats anywhere in known space within minutes. Pirates attacking the Vegan trade routes have been neutralized, she reported. The local authorities found their ships disabled but intact, crews unconscious but unharmed. Earth's intervention style was becoming legendary. Threats were neutralized with surgical precision, criminals were captured rather than killed, and innocent populations were protected with minimal collateral damage. Admiral Deho addressed the gathered leaders of Earth's surface governments, explaining the new reality they all faced. Presidents and prime ministers who had believed they ruled the most powerful military forces on their planet learned that humanity's true strength had been hidden from even them. We are no longer hiding, he told them. The galaxy knows what we are capable of, and they are looking to us for leadership. We must be worthy of that responsibility. The surface world was adapting to its new role as the center of galactic civilization. Earth had become the most important planet in known space overnight, and its leaders were struggling to understand their new responsibilities. Ambassador So Young established the Galactic Cooperation Council, a new organization dedicated to peaceful interaction between species. Humanity's overwhelming technological advantage made them natural mediators in disputes that had festered for centuries. 17. Territorial conflicts have been resolved through our mediation, she announced. The threat of our intervention appears to encourage diplomatic solutions rather than military ones. The galaxy was becoming more peaceful under humanity's watchful eye.